Hi, I'm Dr. Shaunna of drshaunna.com and welcome to Superfood Spotlight. The superfood we're featuring this week in the Spotlight is tomatoes. Don't you just love those bright red tomatoes? And they always taste so great fresh from the garden. Well, we're going to look at the superfood features, the health benefits of these little gems and why you might want to incorporate them into your diet and how you might go about doing that. So first of all, they are high in fiber, about 2 grams of fiber in a cup of tomatoes, and they are really low calorie, only 22 calories in a tomato, and they are low, very low glycemic. They're not going to spike your blood sugar at all. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the benefits of that. So it's not only going to be great for weight loss, but it's going to be diabetic friendly, all those great things. Now, it's also high in antioxidants. That's usually what gives it its superfood status, and it's got a number of them. One of them being beta carotene, which we've talked about before, which is fantastic for boosting your immune system. It's great for your skin, so many things. In addition, it has lutein and zeaxanthin, which is great for your eye health, helping to prevent macular degeneration and cataracts, which is great. It also has a really popular antioxidant, vitamin C, about 33% of your recommended daily allowance, so that's great. And in addition, it has high levels of vitamin A, E, B, and potassium. So those are going to be heart healthy. The potassium is going to help to lower blood pressure if it's elevated, all sorts of great things to promote cardiovascular health. And in addition, there is an anti-clotting feature. So when you have high fat in the blood, which you don't want, and you have free radicals, which is inflammation, which you don't want, well, those two get together and they solidify that fat in your blood along the walls and form plaque, which can break off and form clots, and that's not great at all. And that can diminish your blood flow and decrease your oxygen to your body, your brain, your heart, so that increases your risk of heart and stroke. So there was a 2001 study that found that tomato juice in particular had really potent anti-clotting activity. So that's great. We don't want those clots forming in our bodies, and unless we're bleeding, and then that's an appropriate use of clotting. And in addition, there is a cholesterol lowering effect. So one of the reasons is that it has niacin, which is a B vitamin that helps to lower cholesterol. And the big feature of all, which I know you're all now wondering, why hasn't she mentioned lycopene? Now, lycopene and is really now almost synonymous with tomatoes. It's in a number of other foods, but 85% of North Americans get the lycopene from tomatoes. And this is wonderful for so many things, decreasing risks of stroke and cancer and heart disease and you name it. I'll say a couple others and then we'll get into the cancer, which I really want to talk about. In a study of men, they found that this lycopene helped to improve fertility. And also, they did a study of men and looking at the lycopene levels in their blood, and those who had the lowest levels had the most heart attacks. So all sorts of great reasons to get this in. Now, it is an anti-cancer superstar, and in particular, it's been associated with a decreased risk of prostate and breast cancer. So let's look at a couple of these studies. Some of these are really well known and have been around for a while, which is why it's now filtered down sort of decades later into mainstream knowledge. So there was a 1995 Harvard study that looked at 48,000 men. I love these Harvard studies. Then you can really start to make some conclusions. And they look at men who had 10 servings of tomatoes or tomato products a week had a 35% decreased risk of prostate cancer. That's pretty spectacular. And that is compared to those who had less than or just 1 serving a week. A 1986 study, it was a 9-year-long study, and they looked at a number of foods in relation to prostate health, and there were just 4 foods that helped to significantly reduce prostate cancer, and they were fresh tomatoes, tomato juice, tomato sauce, and tomato paste. got a theme here. And so those are really wonderful. Now, as a mom of 4 boys, I'm going to share something else in this realm as well. When boys are growing about the ages of 13 to 20, that's when a lot of their prostate is growing and developing. And there have been studies that have said a high saturated fat diet in these teenagers is associated with an increased risk of prostate cancer later on in life. Now, what we can do is combat that by getting that lycopene in there. And a really funny story that I shared in my book, Doctor Up the Recipe, and I'll share it now. When I was writing the book, a friend of mine, also a mom of boys, said that her son came home and talked about a kid that had gotten suspended from school. And he was kind of upset. And the mom asked, well, what happened? How come he got suspended? And the kid said, her son said, he was caught with marinara. So what I'm going to say is I hope I catch you with marinara, because great tomato sauce is going to be fantastic. We all know what he really was caught with. So let's look at a few other anti-cancer effects of lycopene, because it really is great. And one molecule of lycopene is said to neutralize 13 free radicals. It's kind of, it's a really heavy hitter when it comes to that. Lycopene also concentrates with cooking, and cooking with olive oil will increase the potency and increase, the absorption as well of all of those great fat-soluble vitamins. And so that Mediterranean diet is really celebrated because of this effect, this lycopene effect, because you're cooking with a lot of olive oils and have those tomato sauces and pastes. And this is the one exception. Usually we're like, no processed foods, but this is the one case where that actually becomes more potent with processing. So it's more potent and concentrated in tomato sauces and pastes. So, bring on the pizza and bring on the pasta sauces. That actually can be done healthy if it's done right. If you're going to choose a ketchup, for example, you'll definitely want to choose organic, and you're going to want to look at what some of the ingredients are. A lot of them have a lot of sugar, like 16 times the sugar of, say, a salsa. So you have to kind of do a little bit of your research. And the organic, one study, and I don't know if how widespread this is, but one study found that the organic ketchups had 75% more lycopene. So usually it just means it's less toxic, not necessarily more nutritious, but that, check that out. What else do we want to share? I think that's it. But in addition to just prostate and breast cancer, there have been some studies suggesting improvement and a reduction in lung, stomach, cervical, GI, and bladder cancers as well. And no doubt we're just getting started. So how do you like to enjoy your tomatoes? I mean, my favorite way is just fresh from the garden. They just taste so much better that way. And one of my things from growing up is to have a toasted tomato sandwich my mom used to make with pepper. And they are so good, and I still love those. So those are some great ways. And of course, you can add them to salads and in soups, and have a tomato soup as well. Salsas, of course, a favorite, whether you're pairing it with a healthy whole grain tortilla chip, or putting it on other foods, topping it on top of meats. Of course, pizzas. You can have that healthy sauce on there. Tomato juice, as we said, great for that anti-clotting potency. If you are getting your processed tomatoes, like tomato sauces and pastes, one thing to just watch out for is to see that it is in a BPA-free container, because the acids can actually leach out, and you don't want it to be, you want to avoid the aluminum. And you also want it to be BPA free as well. So how do you enjoy your tomatoes? Love to hear from you. Did you like this video? Feel free to like and comment below. Check out more superfood videos on my YouTube channel at Dr. Shaunna. And Tomatoes are the superfood we're featuring in at least 2 of our meals at mealcure.com this week. This is an online superfood meal planning service designed to take the stress and chaos out of what's for dinner and put the fun, joy, ease, and most of all, the health right back in. With that, have a fantastic week and be good for you.